Okay, everybody, here we are. We are back with another summer movie flick review. And as this summer continues, we just have so many movies to talk about throughout these next few couple of months. So, the next movie up for us to talk about is Steven Spielberg coming back to doing another directorial debut on Disclosure Day. Now, I want to go ahead and pin out that I never seen. I mean, I may have, but I've completely forgotten Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Don't remember it, nor do I even remember even watching it. I know a few glimpses here and there as to what that movie is about, but completely as a whole movie altogether, I don't know anything about it. Other than the fact, of course, it involves aliens. And of course, I may have watched E.T. as well too, but a long time ago, when I was a kid maybe, don't remember that at all. However, I will never watch that movie. Why? Because I am one of those kids that grew up frightened of E.T. My mother, I always like to say this a lot. My mother, she has an E.T. piggy bank, God rest her soul, on her dresser, and every single time when I would walk into her bedroom and I see it there, it freaks me out. It completely freaks me out. I can't watch that movie. So when it comes to Spielberg and Aliens, I know that those two movies are complete, amazing, wonderful movie experiences for those who are fans of those movies. But for me, however, when it comes to Aliens and Spielberg, I love very much War of the Worlds, and a lot of people don't count this in there, but I thought it was pretty interesting and a lot more entertaining with Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I know a lot of people don't like that movie, but I think that it feels more alienish related rather than this movie, Disclosure Day. I will have to admit that after watching this movie, that I wasn't disappointed, just more on the lines of just bored. I just have to honestly say I was bored. Um, I think it's more interesting than Backrooms. I'll admit that. But when it comes to this movie, however, it's really hard to explain because Steven Spielberg is, of course, the goat, the goat of goats here, and you know he's. It's very rare that he ever does miss when he swings and miss at a movie, and don't when you want when you, if you intend to go and watching this movie. Don't expect it to being a summer blockbuster flick that you're normally used to watching when it involves aliens, like Independence Day or War of the Worlds, for example, or even Signs for that matter. Um, it may be about aliens, but it's not really about aliens. I don't want to give away any spoilers because, of course, this movie, in fact, is brand new and out in theaters, and I would really love for those who are watching this, I would love to see what your personal opinion is as to what you feel about if you go and watch this movie, Disclosure Day. Um, so go in there with a clear mind. You know, don't expect pretty much what you experience through the marketing of this movie. For example, the trailers, it does show that there are some similar action sequences in there that may be exciting for the audiences, but I think that the action in this is very brief and very minimal. Not much really happens in this movie. It's a lot of how would they say the phrase, cat and mouse kind of story. It's a lot of chasing. There's a lot of ridiculous things that happen in this where I'm just like scratching my head and wondering, that can't really happen. That can't really happen. And that can't really happen. For example, it's not really a spoiler, but when one individual character is trying to sneak his way through in broad daylight, I'm just like, there's no way of being seen in open ground. it was ridiculous to me when I saw that. I'm just like, very easily they could have spotted you. It doesn't matter how low you put yourself, no matter how fast you were. You're in open ground on daylight, and you're telling me that these individuals couldn't really spot. You know, you had like maybe 15, 20 people there, and yet none of them could have spotted you. That really threw me out of the film. And then another part when the chase is over and they made the bad guys aware to believe that, oh, they died along with that, that our characters had died along with that, the people that were chasing. And yet they're just a couple of feet away from them, sneaking about away from them and causing noises by, tree brushes and stuff. And I'm just like, they could have heard that. You could have been easily caught, and yet you didn't. That did not make any sense to me at all. Or even when you go when you're located, and instead of them, they always sneak out the back. But I'm just like, that can't happen either, because they may be more focused on trying to get entry through the front entrance, but yet they always are under the interpretation that you could easily sneak out the back. So it's a full scound, them just, keeping an eye on all entrances, not just one in particularly for you just to escape out the back. That didn't make any sense either. So there's a lot of things in here that didn't make any sense. In the trailer, the only thing that I found interesting in this was the train sequence, which like I said, it was very minimal. It happened not even 3 minutes, but it was still exciting. Pretty much the exciting thing about this film. And I know that in the trailer, it markets a lot of animal creatures in this. I don't know what is the issue with movies nowadays, having to making creatures more digital now, rather than having, trained animals on set. It seems to be a very rare thing now for them to have actual animals to be filmed for a movie. Like, for example, Michael a couple of months ago. A lot of complaints about the monkey, Bubbles, or the llama, or the giraffe, or the rat. All of it was all digitalized. And I'm like, you can't really find an animal tamer who is willing to, loan, find somebody to hire to loan their animals who are trained to be a part of the movie, but yet you have to go down the more expensive route to digitalize them. So that's what they did with this, with some elk and a cardinal and a fox and so on and so forth. And they all look terrible. Digital-wise, they all look so terrible, so fake, and it really threw me out of the movie. So I really didn't, it's really hard for me to grasp on the idea of this as to, their whole intention of making the audiences know that when it comes to this movie, that if aliens were real, how would the world react? And it really has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with that. It's more of the journey of getting from point A to point B, It's like with the Lord of the Rings, Not complaining about best trilogy ever, my favorite movie ever. You got the start of the ring, and, they're on the journey to go and destroying this thing, but yet at the end of the film, you're just like, well, what happens next? I mean, I didn't understand that, It's like if you were just a first-time viewer to this, not with no knowledge at all whatsoever, having to finding out later on that, oh, it's a trilogy and it's based off of these books. This is kind of like the same thing, only in fact that this is all original material off of the mind of Steven Spielberg, who probably has been thinking about this storyline probably within decades. And finally getting the opportunity to doing that. Emily Blunt in this, she's one of the stars, and she pretty much steals the entire thing. Her performance in this is wonderful, spectacular. I think that she really stands out in this. Every single time when she's off screen, I'm just wondering, where is she? I want to see more of her, because I loved her acting capabilities that she had performed into this movie. Josh O'Connor, like I said, is another individual into this movie that is one of the leading stars. But whenever he popped up into the film, because these are two completely different individual characters that are grown apart, two different storylines. And so whenever I see Josh O'Connor in this, I'm thinking, where's Emily Blunt at? Because I really don't care about this guy. It's not really interesting to me at all. But I loved Emily Blunt's performances in this. Colin Firth, however, I love his acting. I really do. But in this, he seemed very Ben Mendelsohn from from Ready Player One. So whenever I kept seeing him, I'm just like thinking, like I think Ben Mendelsohn could have been just this character all over again if he was given the opportunity to. So, but Colin Firth did an okay job. He's just your same stereotypical, antagonist in this thing, mustache twirling kind of guy, trying to hide keep these hidden secrets hidden. Unlike this character, John O'Connor, who plays a character who's trying to reveal this secret out into the world that aliens do exist. Colman Domingo. This guy was annoying to me. He was so annoying. Throughout the movie, he's on the phone with our characters, and he's pretty much playing like like Morpheus from the Matrix movies, but it's just so annoying because I'm like in the background. Every time when you see him, there's some kind of construction going on, some kind of stage pieces being placed, and throughout the movie you're wondering like what is going on, what is happening, why are we doing this? And then when it reveals as to what they're doing, I'm like, seriously, that's it? That's so annoying. That's so boring. What's the point? and that the whole thing that's explored is only within one part of the whole thing that they had made, and yet none of the rest of it meant any sense. If you were to have just done one in particular location, I'd understand that, but the rest of it is like, why? I didn't like that at all. His character was very, very annoying to me. Not that I'm saying that his acting is at all bad, but the way that it was portrayed into this movie, it really did annoy me. Wyatt Russell, however, is actually my favorite out of this whole entire thing. I wish we would have gotten more screen time with him. However, he's pretty much only in this maybe 30 to 35% of the movie. But then when he's gone, he's gone. You don't really see him again until maybe a glimpse at the end of the film. But every single time when I saw him in this, I'll admit this movie's not funny, but his performance, Wyatt Russell in this, it made me chuckle a lot. The only time I had a great fun in this was of course the train sequence and Wyatt Russell. Those are the two that are great, and of course Emily Blunt as well too. Another character is played by Eve Houston. She resembles very much a young Rachel Weisz. She looks a lot like her. And if this movie was made back in the 90s, I'm pretty sure Rachel Weisz would have played this character. But just seeing her was like the same as Wyatt Russell, but less interesting. She's in the movie, and when she uses her time in the film, it pretty much introduces more of the religious aspect, the questionings of, what's really strong religious people who have a relationship with God, how they would deal with all this when aliens are revealed as, real and existent. Which they don't really pinpoint a lot of it to that. There's a lot of stuff in here that are questionable, but then when the movie ends, you're just like, questions aren't really answered, and anything that is brought into the spotlight is really not at all interesting. There's no surprises. There's no, I could pretty much just spoil the movie for you right here, right now, and it really wouldn't be a big spoiler at all. I think that the movie would have been more interesting if they kept the mystery alive, meaning like, what are these top secrets that they want to reveal to the world? It couldn't be just aliens, it could have been anything else, probably the Loch Ness Monster, which I really have a high fascination for. It would have been great finding out, oh wow, Nessie does exist, or Bigfoot, or the abominable snowman, anything. It would have been so great. Having to revealing it to being aliens at the very end may have been a little bit more interesting. If we kept that mystery going, having to not know what exactly these secrets were. One of the secrets that they reveal, of course, is not a spoiler at all either, because it's in the trailer, is the secret behind the Roswell crash in 1947. When I saw that, I was just like, as far as I'm concerned, because I am a Roswell fan, not to the mystery of it, but to the sci-fi TV show in the WB back in the day. They're just high school teenagers in the '90s. So that's all I gotta say about that, Forrest Gump. But yeah, I think that this movie, I find it very forgettable. I don't really think I would be watching this ever again. If Spielberg does another movie in the future, I still will go and watch it. I really have high hopes for his work. He does have, of course, a lot of very great successful films throughout the decades. Of course, a lot of people would mention, like Indiana Jones, Jurassic Park, or Jaws. Just so many of them out there. You got Schindler's List as well, Catch Me If You Can, all those kind of movies. John Williams comes back into this, doing the composing work behind the scenes, and I love his music. He's one of my favorite composers of all time. Having to being 94 years old and still going at it, I give a lot of credits to him for doing that. But the music in this is not really memorable either. If you hear the music to Jurassic Park, that's Jurassic Park. If you hear the music to Indiana Jones, that's Indiana Jones. If you hear the music to Jaws, that's the music to Jaws. But if you hear the music to Star Wars, that's Star Wars. Superman and Harry Potter and Home Alone, so on and so forth. If you hear all that music, you immediately know that okay, that's that movie. But if you hear the music to this, I don't think that it's very memorable at all. I think it's great, but I don't think it's very memorable. The music to War of the Worlds, it's one of my favorites as well too. When I listen to it, I'm right away, that's War of the Worlds. But this, however, like I said, it's very forgettable. I think it's a little overwhelming, and just a lot of it just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't think that it's something that I really recommend for all of you viewers out there who are expecting a lot out of this to happen, and yet it doesn't happen. You're going to have a very terrible theatrical experience with this, and I don't want to discourage you, but most likely that will happen. When I went into the movie theaters, I'm very happy that there was an audience there, about a good maybe 20, 25 people, which is awesome, especially for a Steven Spielberg flick. But the majority of all of them in there, no offense at all, but we're senior citizens. And I'm just thinking, oh no, don't tell me I'm going to be watching Cocoon here. No offense. Like I said, I just thought that was funny. That was my first reaction to that when I walked into the theater. I was like, am I the only young folk in here? No kids in here at all whatsoever. Wow, what a surprise. But yeah, when it comes to Rotten Tomatoes, man, the percentage of people out there, there's going to be a lot of mixed audiences with this. And when it comes to Rotten Tomatoes, however, they've posted it that the film, for the rankings of movie critics out there, is at an 81%. So there's more critics out there who enjoyed this a lot better than others. But me, however, I'm actually going to be leaning on the other at the other end of this balance scale. Giving it when it comes to Disclosure Day, Steven Spielberg's Disclosure Day, I want to give it a 25%. It's a movie I will not watch again. It's a movie that I really don't want to talk about ever again, other than what I'm talking about here right now in my movie review. I think it's a little bit more interesting compared to Backrooms, because I know I didn't do a review off of Backrooms. I just didn't find it interesting. This one is a bit interesting, but it just gives you a disappointing experience throughout the whole thing. There were many times in this movie where I'm just like, I'm bored. I'm bored. I'm bored. I'm bored. I don't want to feel like that, but that's what happened. That's how it is. So, anyways, you guys, that's my review on Steven Spielberg's Disclosure Day. What did you guys think? Go and check it out if you feel like you want to go and experience it for yourself. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section in the bottom. Let's have an awesome time talking about this movie or any movies that you'd like to talk about in general, because I love to talk about movies, but most importantly, I love to talk about them with you. And don't forget that you can check out some more of my videos on YouTube. Just look me up at Awesome Joe Movie Reviews. Don't forget to click on that like and subscribe button there, you guys. I really do appreciate everybody's time and support onto my YouTube channel. And click on that notification bell too for future videos being posted online. You'll be one of the first ones to watch and experience and become part of the conversation of Awesome Joe's Movie Reviews. So, anyways, everybody, I'm Awesome Joe. Keep on living the dream, and as always, stay awesome. Thanks, you guys, once more again, and to my beautiful baby girl daughter, I love you so much. My little diva, Daddy cannot wait to see you again, and Daddy will never stop working really hard to be reunited with you. And to all of my wonderful viewers out there, I'll see everybody in the next video. Bye.